Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation. It is June 9th, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And this meeting is being held in hybrid fashion. And thank you. Let me do a roll call of the board members. Again, my name is Tim Cassidy. I'm president. John Stair.
Here.
John Solovich.
Here.
Jill Pack.
Here.
Sarah Moore.
Here.
Aaron Bidwell. And John Wallenberg was not going to be able to attend. So there being a quorum, we will continue with our agenda. And the next item is approval of our May 12 minutes as submitted to the group. Are there any comments or questions?
I had one addition in the provision regarding the approval of the ice rink on page 2 at the bottom of page 2. And I've talked to Jared about this, that in a situation like that where, you know, you kind of have a deviation from the normal rules of quoting and bidding, you know, on things, there's an exception if you've explored other alternatives and you basically only have, I think Jared determined that was basically the only company that could do what we were looking for. And that's how we ended up with that company. But I think that should be documented in the minutes to justify the fact that, you know, we weren't going out to bid with it or entertaining other companies to do that work. To Jared about how we would do that, and he can follow up on that. And Tim, did you want this back? Or?
Yeah, well, let's give it to Jared. So I have 8 or 10 typographical corrections that I've made. Nothing of substance, but just a minor clarifications and typographical corrections. If there's no other comments or questions about the minutes, then is there a motion to approve them as submitted and as amended here this evening?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
John Stair's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
John Solovich makes a second. Any further questions? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. Actually, I don't. Do we need to do roll call votes? We have no one. No one.
You can do it here.
Okay, so there you go. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed. All right, the motion unanimously carries approving the minutes as amended. Let me also mention some guests we have here tonight. Joe Russ, thank you for doing our IT support. Jared Logston, our superintendent, is with us as always. Roger Burris, the board's attorney and counsel, is also here on the dais. I also see Mindy Murdoch, our director of recreation here. Hi, Mindy. And Tricia McClellan, a principal at REA, who's attending and will be reporting on a couple of updates. All right, this is the time of our meeting when the public is invited to make presentations. So if you are here or participating via Zoom, you have a chance to ask questions or make comments. Are there any takers, any public presentations or comments? There being none, we'll proceed to the staff reports, and I'll turn it over to Jared Logston. Jared?
All right, thank you, Tim. Within the last month, the Southern Rail Trail contract was awarded to HIS Construction and signed. We will have our pre-construction meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock to officially kick off the Southern Rail Trail expansion. The SP3 Starkey Stairs was also awarded to HIS for $170,000. That contract is still in legal review, but once passed, we will get that signed and moving forward as well. Heritage Trail Park construction has began, so those improvements are underway with Globe. It's looking good out there. It's coming along quickly, so that's exciting. And finally, we now call Town Hall home for the administrative leg of the Parks Department. So we're officially beginning to move in, and we'll call this our headquarters from now on.
Upstairs.
Upstairs, yep, second floor. Nice view of the rail trail too, so we'll keep an eye on it. That's all from the superintendent report.
Great. Are there any, neighbors or any feedback from citizens or neighbors on the work being done at Heritage Trail Park? Anything we're hearing?
I've not received any comment. No, I think the community's kind of working alongside the noise and still visiting. We're still seeing dog park and
Right. Obviously, you and Amanda Vela have done a great job of including it in the updates of both the street projects, as well as it's always included as a big project that obviously may inconvenience some. How about the dog park? Any updates on the dog park or anything?
that'll become later in the meeting when we have a new agenda item to talk about. But the dog park is doing great. We're having attendance and we're still accepting new applications at this time based on usage. So.
Great. All right. Anything else on staff reports?
Yeah, I'd like to highlight some of the maintenance components as well. The team addressed some issues with the rail trail in the middle section, just some erosion that's happened. They've kind of patched that up to provide a smoother ride for cyclists so they don't bend a frame or have an accident. So I appreciate that quick response on that. Honeysuckle was removed from the north end of the rail trail as well. And Dave Molinterno's last day with the town of Zionsville will be June 15th. He is going on a new adventure and we wish him the best of luck. He was a great addition and welcomed part of the team, and he really helped me out getting started with the town. So I really appreciate his help and wish him the best moving
Great.
forward.
I'd like to add on behalf of the board, our appreciation for Dave's service, and we wish him well in his new job and career. So thank you, Dave, and please give him a call before he leaves to say goodbye. I hope he stays somehow involved with Zionsville, but
Absolutely.
we'll miss him. And that's been posted, the new job, in terms of the replacement for Dave. Has it been posted yet?
Not posted just yet, but we're working on that.
Almost.
Yep. And from the recreation report, I just wanted to highlight that the Nature Center had over 1,000 walk-ins again in this past month, with a record high of 160 visitors in one day. So obviously a very welcomed addition, and the location within the library is working out great for all parties.
Yes.
So we are appreciating that. Our bearded dragon turned 12 this month as well. I feel like that's worthy of highlighting. And I hope you all can attend on June 24th as we have our first Barns and Brew event, which will be a fundraiser for the Maple Lawn Farmstead. And it's a partnership program. It's going to feature local breweries as well as a lecture series. So we will have a member of the DNR talking about Indiana bats. So it'll be a good time.
What's the date and time?
That will be June 24th at 6:30 is when doors open. There is a pre-registration of $14.50, and the first drink's on us.
You park at Maple Lawn Farmstead
Actually park at Mulberry.
at Mulberry?
Yep.
And walk over?
Walk over, yep. And that concludes staff reports.
Great. Yeah, on the rec report, maybe it's, after a year of pandemic sort of numbers, and it's not like I compared them with past months, but it just looks like lots of programs, lots of attendees. Yeah, how are you feeling about that, Mindy? Are you, numbers good?
Numbers are good. We're averaging between 90 and 100 a day. With, school being out, so again, as always, it's kind of a learning curve for our staff on how to kind of balance programs and people walking in and other things that they need to do. But
All right, Mindy was not at the dais, but she responded from the audience that the numbers are good and that everything is copacetic in terms of recreation and our summer programs. And how about Sarah, the library? How are they? Any chirps or complaints or
No, we
positives?
absolutely love it. We love having the nature center there. I think, like Jared said, it benefits both organizations, and I think it just brings more people in all together. So absolutely, we love it, and we're really open to having you there as long as you want to be.
All right, well, thanks for that feedback. Anything more on the staff report, Jared?
That is all at this time.
All right, we'll turn it over to Roger Burris for the Park Board Attorney update. Roger?
Certainly lots of projects ongoing and contract review, appraisals, and following up on things that you've approved in the past. I think everybody was sent that electronic meeting policy that came from Town Hall. And I do think that would be a good thing to adopt. I don't know that we're gonna, well, when the emergency expires, then if we were ever needed to have an electronic meeting, then we'd need to have this policy. So I don't think you have to entertain it tonight, but you could. But within the next couple of meetings, I think that should be considered and voted on.
I think we should go ahead and adopt it tonight. Is any?
So that's once the mandate is taken away, then this will come in effect. That's what we said.
Yeah, at least.
If we were not, if we were going to have another hybrid meeting, or like we did have a situation in the past where we had a member who couldn't attend a meeting but wanted to participate electronically. And so this would cover that sort of situation as well.
Yeah,
So-
my understanding, just we had to do this with the library as well, is that this is something that if you were going to allow that at any point, you have to pass a policy on it.
That's correct. Yeah, so that's my understanding too. If anybody, and if anybody has good, again, starting next month, we should meet here physically as we are tonight. So that should be the presumptive way. And if somebody for some good reason can't, let us know. And now we would have a way to consider having a hybrid meeting. However, you have to have, for instance, you have to have at least 50% of the members physically present here at Town Hall. You can't vote on items, a list of 7 items like adopting a budget or initiating an increase or imposing a fee. So there's all sorts of pitfalls in using it, but with a little bit of time and effort, we'd be happy to do so and use it. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, so we've had submitted to us a lengthy Town of Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation electronic meeting policy. And it's the 2-page, make sure I have the right one, Ron. Do I have?
I had 3 when that's when.
Yeah, so that has been submitted to members of the board. Is there any motion to approve this policy, electronic meeting policy as submitted?
I would move to accept it as submitted.
Joe Pack makes the motion to approve the electronic meeting policy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sarah Morris seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion or questions? All right, all in favor of the electronic meeting policy as submitted by our attorney, Roger Burris, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Okay, the motion unanimously carries.
And that was set up to have those that are here to go ahead and sign. So Tim, if you want to send maybe 2 of those around, that would be good. There's one. Another thing, just so you know, a few months ago, or maybe 2 months ago, you were asked to indicate, and you did indicate that you had no objection to the vacation of an alley in between a lot at 990 West Pine Street and a lot that backed up to it on Oak Street, which are both owned by the same people. That alley vacation is still pending with the town council. It has become rather contested because there's a neighbor who is very adamantly opposed to it. And kind of both sides have now asked me for additional information because the lot at 990 West Pine Street was sold by the park board several years ago. And there was a question about whether or not it could be used for non-park purposes. And because of that question, we ended up getting a court decision that said that yes, it could. In other words, because this has come up again recently, and I just wanted, if anybody brings it up, that we appropriately took the extra steps to make sure that when we sold that lot, that it would not be restricted to park use only. And this lot was beside the rail trail. The rail trail is restricted to park use only, which is the way it should be. So I've had to provide information to the town council and some others involved in that. And I think it's still pending before the town council.
It is. I was at the meeting on Monday. It took up a good amount of discussion.
Yeah, and they actually, so, and I think they've approved it with the understanding, it has to be a second reading, so they don't have to approve it next month.
Yeah.
But they figured that would also give the parties time to try to work something out.
So we've said we would not.
We've said that we
object
had
to the
no-
vacation. Is there any reason for us to, again, I don't think we have a, oar in the water, a dog?
Yeah, I
in
mean, the
fight?
only question was whether we thought that alley should be available for future use for pedestrians to get to the rail trail. And we decided no. I mean, it was a bit of a drop from that point.
And it's right next to the Pine Street ramp.
Yeah, and we've got entrances at like Oak Street and Pine Street, so
Yeah.
we didn't see it as anything that was needed for park purposes.
Yeah.
We're not supporting the alley vacation, but we're not opposed to it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens.
What else, Roger?
I think that's it. If you have any questions, I mean, there's several other things that Jared has asked me about that I've responded to, and a couple that he's still waiting for me to respond to, which I'll do as soon as possible. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Nope, let's move on to new business. Heritage. Oh,
Can I
go ahead.
circle back
Sure.
to one thing? When I was looking at the superintendent report, under community involvement here, it says that you had a discussion with the Zionsville Cultural District to talk about the mural walk. And it says that a review committee will be considered. I'd like to propose that we insist on a review committee and have some board representation on that, because I think whatever is the end result, it's going to be the board that's going to be responsible, not the cultural district. And I think we need to have some representation on the front end to make sure that that is something that we can all be proud of and stand behind.
Completely agree. Happy to have that conversation and
Okay.
include that.
Okay. And I'm sure we all got this note from the pickleball guy
Yeah.
about painting pickleball lines on our courts at Lions Park. We're going to do that, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay. It's not done yet, but that's part of the plan. Okay,
So that's all it takes to make a tennis court, a pickleball court, is adding some lines.
Yes.
Okay.
That's may not be the best pickleball court in the world, or depending on your point of view, but.
Okay, never played pickleball.
it's about half the
And
size.
this
of the
is a
tennis
part of
court.
our contract, and were they going to paint sideways on the courts or length, vertically or horizontally? Yeah.
The orientation is dependent on how the sun sets, so to keep it out of our eyes the best we can. I'd have to look at the final rendering because we had a couple options, but it was to maximize the amount we could have on the courts. I believe it was so we don't utilize the tennis net, but rather people bring their own nets since they're different sizes.
Okay, so it
And that
was
doesn't seem to be a problem in Zionsville.
I think in the pickleball community, that's pretty standard that people bring their own net. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right, and the tennis court has been paved and lined, the tennis lines, the pickleball lines have not been put down, and the pickleball court, the old practice half court, which is being converted to a exclusive pickleball court, is not paved and built yet. So they're having trouble finding asphalt. So there's an asphalt shortage out there.
Don't have anything.
The tennis courts look great, however, look really nice, look really, really nice.
All right, are we ready for a new business, Jared? Heritage Trail Park Phase 2 and Dog Park Fountains are the next item on the agenda. Jared?
Yep, included in the phase two at the last minute was the addition of a water line over to the dog park and a concrete pad poured on each side of the fence. So we would have the ability to have water for both the small and large dog sections. So now our crews are confident that they can install these as they have around our park system. So we need to purchase 2 fountains that'll be similar to the fountain that exists at Heritage Trail with the bottle filler. It'll have a spigot on the side so we could fill a pool for the dogs or rinse something off, and also the public drinking component. So for 2 fountains, it was $6,960.68. And as soon as we get that purchased, we can install and have that amenity for the dog park.
Is there, questions? What do you need from us? Do you need a contract approved,
Just, we did research other companies and found the best with WBF. So for the 2 fountains being over that $5,000 threshold, I just asked for the authority to move forward with this.
what's the name of the company?
Willow Best Fountains, which is kind of the company that we have moved to after several of our older fountains have rusted out, and we're just finding a better product with this. Like I said, it's actually cheaper to have the bottle filler and the other components rather than cut that off, because that would be a special fabrication. So it's kind of the deluxe package for a cheaper price than just a dog fountain. So.
All right, so is there a motion to authorize our superintendent to negotiate the purchase of 2 additional water fountains for Heritage Trail Park and expend no more than $7,000 for such water fountains?
I make a motion to
John,
allow the water fountains for Heritage.
motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
John Stair seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion unanimously carries. What else? Oh, next item is memorial donations.
So again, the memorial donation is very popular with the town of Zionsville. There's a lot of support for our park system, and we could see that through members wanting to dedicate and honor their loved ones. So we have 2 more benches to consider, which one at Zionsville Nature Sanctuary and the other at Creekside Nature Park. So working with maintenance, we'll find the proper location to offer a resting amenity that the donor is happy with as well. So just those for your consideration. There's also 2 memorial trees that go along with each of these applications, but those are a little bit more refined. So we have to actually, find the most ideal place for the success of the tree and the aesthetic of the park. So that's still being considered further.
So you're looking tonight for a motion to
Approval of the 2 benches. Yep.
approve of the 2. These are 2, where are the benches to be again?
One at Creekside Nature Park, and we'll find the appropriate location along that trail system that lends itself to a resting location. And the other is within Zion Nature Center Sanctuary. Sorry.
Zion Nature Sanctuary. Okay.
It's right where the nature center was.
Oh,
across from the library.
Is there any, sometimes I appreciate the privacy. Is there any more again, we've adopted a policy on memorial benches and asked you to come to us. Is there any more information that we as a board would want from Jared
Yeah, just
before we
location.
consider these motions?
It's more the location and.
The location is,
And do we need the benches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a reality we're going to come up on sooner than later is that we'll sunset this program.
we'll have so many benches.
Yeah,
We'll-
yeah,
We'll be inundated. So
But definitely, I think on, what you said, the first one you said were on.
Zion Nature Sanctuary,
And then
the Creekside.
Creekside, yeah.
Yep. So there are still plenty of places where these make sense and they'll be a great addition. But eventually, we will reach that point where that doesn't justify placing another bench in our system. So what a great problem to have.
Nice, good job.
So when someone comes to you, do you have a list of like, these are where we need benches? And they can choose from it, or they come to you and say, I want my bench in Mulberry Fields or wherever?
Yep, so a couple of things we consider. One, we let them select the location, and then we identify whether there is a need for a new bench or the replacement of an existing. So if it's the replacement of an existing, then we just have a spare bench for the next time we need to trade that out if it's in decent condition. But if it's a new addition, we kind of justify whether it's needed. And I kind of base that on comments I've received from the community. I've received those emails where people are asking for more places to rest in certain parks. So to me, that need is still in the community at certain points. That makes sense.
So if there was it's still a bench in good shape, you would still maybe swap it out
Yep.
and
Yep.
then just keep that as a supply?
Yeah. As storage allows.
And then what do you do if, like, at some point the bench is going to need to be replaced? Is
Yep.
it still a memorial bench if it gets replaced? Or is it just for the life of the bench?
We guarantee it for 5 years within the program. So after that 5-year mark, if it were to be replaced, it wouldn't necessarily be a memorial bench at that point.
Okay.
So
All right, good questions. Is there a motion to approve the 2 memorial benches, one for Creekside Nature Park, one for Zion Nature Sanctuary as proposed by our superintendent?
I would make that motion.
Jill Pack makes the motion to approve the 2 benches. Is there a second?
I'll second.
John Salovich seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion unanimously carries. Next item of new business is nonprofit event. Jared, I know a little bit about this, but
there was a request for a event in one of our parks that'll essentially be an extended shelter reservation. So they'd like to reserve the space, but then also have an additional activity outside of that space. So it is the Diversity Coalition, and they're celebrating Juneteenth on Friday, June 8th from 5 to 9 p.m. at Mulberry Fields. So they're requesting permission to have a vendor in the park to serve during their event. I think it's going to be a little ice cream cart. So this really kind of opens up the bigger conversation of the evolution of our shelter policy and incorporating those special requests into the existing policy on agreed upon terms as a board and park attorney. So in looking in the kind of the industry standards, I'm going to share a screen real quick. So this was our existing shelter policy. And the portion that we're adding, at the discretion of the superintendent of Parks and Recreation, the following amenities may be permitted with a shelter reservation. Such activities require a certificate of insurance listing the town of Zionsville Department of Parks and Recreation as additionally insured. And those amenities would be concessions, vendors, rented tables, chairs, tents, and canopies, outside sales, portable restrooms, caterer, large rented inflatables or games. And for that last amenity, the inflatable, there would be an additional waiver of release that I would work with Roger to develop. So this, in looking at several park departments around the country, it kind of seems that the baseline was that certificate of insurance listing for those amenities added onto a reservation. So just something to consider if we want to incorporate those and offer that additional service for these reservations, or if we want to exclude those activities.
what information is given? What do we know about somebody who reserves a shelter currently?
We receive their contact information, their address, phone number, email, and then the fees that are associated with that are paid usually online through credit card, or it can be check. And then the release of, we have a waiver associated with that registration process.
We do.
That kind of releases the park district from that.
I think there was even a waiver when, because I was trying out the beer, the Barnes and beer, and I think there was a waiver you had to sign on that too, so.
So those are, what's nice about our OpenGov system that we're using is it's easy to incorporate those and they have to be checked as in red before you can proceed. So we are getting that information in front of every applicant.
I
And-
always wanted to say that's a good program. It's very smooth, so.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
Any comments or questions? Roger, just a minor point, listing the Town of Zionsville Department of Parks and Recreation as it should be an additional insured rather than additionally insured.
All right.
Yeah, so I think something similar came up, and it may be even the same ice cream vendor.
That
wanted-
was,
They wanted to sell ice cream in a park. And I remember, this was a few years ago, and I remember talking to then Deputy Mayor Ed Mitro, who pointed out that Zionsville has a statute that says that nobody can sell commercial merchandise or distribute sample or promotional commercial merchandise within the public ways of any public street, bicycle or pedestrian pathway or alley within the town unless those activities are sanctioned as part of a special event featuring street vendors approved by the town.
So there's no mention of a parkland or park space.
Right, but you can bet there's a lot of pathways,
Yeah.
Pedestrian and bicycle pathways within the parks, and that vendors would love to set up in those areas, and that's not permissible unless it's been approved. And it also talks about street vendor. Well, I'm not sure that's what we're talking about here, but similar type thing. And so anyway, when that came up before, it was totally taboo. But here we're talking about a special event by a nonprofit, right?
yeah, in this instance currently, and then there's a larger conversation about what we want to adopt into our policy.
And
Yeah,
what is
not-
the name of the nonprofit?
It is the Diversity Coalition.
Okay. They've asked the library to participate in this event, and I think we're planning to be there, but I didn't know how much was still up in the air about this.
Yeah, and I think it is still forming depending on what happens tonight in our conversation. So they'll
Okay.
sway a little bit how they structure it.
I think it definitely warrants more careful consideration of a change to the policy. It seems to me it's going to give you a lot more work and potentially us. So I would just be careful. I mean, I don't see it as simple as just providing a certificate of insurance. I see it as kind of a can of worms. But, and I'm not trying to be the bad guy. I'm just suggesting caution and consideration of try to anticipate issues and resolve them before they happen.
The shelter reservation is for citizens. It doesn't distinguish, it's not for nonprofits only, is it?
No, yeah, if anyone can, we just agreed that we would waive fees for nonprofits for these reservations.
So we would have a limitation set out by ordinance. Somebody, we're going to have to make sure they're not in the pathway when they're selling their ice cream. If there would be some limitations that would have to be followed. Otherwise, it's your discretion, and you can get pinned in sometimes into a corner through practice or custom.
Yeah, I think at this point, I would be happy to remove that outside sales and concession from this list, just to remove two avenues that might cause trouble. But I would still consider vendors, rented tables, portable restrooms, large rented inflatables, and I think I would remove caterers as well. Unless it kind of falls into that food truck.
And what is the big worry about that? Because I think that's what makes these events more you know, so people want to go to them because there's going to be a food truck there or something.
Yeah, free food's always nice, or, you know, that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would see a concern, a bouncy castle, somebody breaks their neck on a bouncy castle in a park. We just signed up for the shelter, and there was, that you didn't tell us it was slightly sloped or.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have begun to work on a draft, concerning the inflatable jumper specifically. That would be an additional waiver. But again, that's at the discretion. That issue, or that question was also posed as I was putting this on the agenda and afterwards. So it's just a larger conversation of what we want to allow with these reservations.
Yeah, but they do make the fun. Yeah, I mean, a food truck, those are so common now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the town might have another ordinance regarding food trucks.
Food trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then mess is the other side,
Another
the trash,
thing.
so.
Yeah.
And that is covered in the existing policy. There's a penalty if shelter reservation area is left a mess. I think it's a $50 charge.
I think also probably for the future of this, there's got to be some, like we need a guideline document or something about what goes into your discretionary decisions too. Because I think we're going to run into, at some point, somebody's going to want to rent the park that we don't want them to do that. And we have to justify what we approve and what we don't approve. And it doesn't have to be a straight list, but like a criteria that we're looking for. Because discretionary just seems to me very broad.
Subjective.
Yeah.
Who is it that is responsible for checking to make sure that these things are safely applied? Like the fire department comes around and looks at the farmer's market and the Brick Street market and all that. Would that be something that we should ask them to do or require them to do, to come and do a safety inspection if there's going to be, a lot of elements brought in?
Anybody who's putting up a tarp, a covering, has to have the fire department approval.
And is there a charge for that, or does the fire department just do that?
I'd have to ask. I know there are line items within a special event where, when an off-duty officer or something like that is required, there is an associated fee, but I'm not sure about the inspection. And we wouldn't want to create, an undue burden onto our fire department if they're coming out every, 4 times a weekend to check on these events.
So this particular nonprofit minority coalition or whatever their proper name is, they haven't submitted a special event application, correct?
Yep. This would more be an expansion of their shelter reservation.
So the special event, anytime, maybe it's getting so big, at some point, something gets so big that you have to use a special event application. So the question is between simply reserving a shelter to go and a special event, is there?
To me, they're adding more, wanting to add something, so that's a special event. They're wanting to add, a sales aspect of this. So it's not just renting. You're having an event.
Yeah.
You're not having a party. You're not. It's not a birthday party. They're having an event to monitor. To honor something though. So.
Yeah, and they invited our organization, the library, there, so that, to me, I thought it was an event. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, ice
And looking
cream.
for sponsorships. I think she said sponsorship, so that's not a party, that's an event.
Another thing that's implicated is I think you said that there would be profits going to the business.
Yeah, in this instance, it's a nonprofit, but the vendor would be for profit and retain those profits. So
Then that triggers the obligation for them to pay for whatever town staff time is required to be involved in the special event. I mean, that's another thing that makes it like a special event rather than a shelter rental.
Okay.
I would be real careful about keeping the separation between those two things.
And I'm curious too, if we have concessions, can we have alcoholic concessions there if it was a different party?
that one's easy to strike.
Yeah.
Unless you're at Town Hall or Maple Lawn Farmstead. Is that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, but that's somewhere noted because we just have concessions. It's somewhere else that you can't do that. Okay.
Yep. Okay,
So we'll table that and
I'll respond to that, the nonprofit concerning the need to have a special event application rather than a extended shelter policy. But I think maybe continue this discussion and see what we want to allow, if anything.
Yeah, what do we do for weddings at Lincoln Park?
Well, all we typically do is provide power and the location. So
Do they, is it now subject to the shelter reservation policy?
that's been folded into that. We've adopted some of the special language in that form. That was unique to that because that was the only reservable space prior to the expansion.
So there's waivers and releases
Yep.
and that's, then, because you may have a vendor, I mean, you might have a for-profit cake server, I'm,
Well, they have caterings on that list.
sure,
so,
right, right.
yeah. Well, Juneteenth is like the 19th, and you said they're planning on doing this on the 18th though, but that's like less than 10 days from now. So if we don't make a decision tonight, what then happens?
I think, they can either have the shelter reservation within the scope of that service, which is the reservable space. And, within that, you can have music that goes within that vicinity, not to extend beyond that. And, the public is allowed to gather in parks. So if that is the scope of their activity, then that's within the realm of the shelter reservation. If they still want to make it larger, then that is a conversation for the special event application. So, and we'll direct them that way, how they want to have their event go.
Makes sense to everyone?
Yep.
Okay, any other new business, Jared, that we missed or?
Nope.
If not, we'll move on to old business, Overly Warman Park.
Tricia, do you have any updates? Construction's still going well out there. There's a large amount of dirt. And kind of the playground area is continuing to be compacted for the addition of those amenities. So.
All right, this is Tricia McClellan. Oh, go ahead and introduce
Tricia
yourself.
McClellan of Rundell Ernsberger Associates. Do I need to give my address? 815 West Market Street. Yeah, Jared did a good job. The playground really is what they're focusing on now, and we should start to see stone going down. And then they'll put the playground equipment in and even the concrete sidewalk that'll enclose that area so they can kind of finish off that area and fence it in and secure it as they continue to work across the site. So they're making good progress with the weather that we've had. They're still working in between the rain to move dirt where they can, and doing a good job with everything they're doing.
I was curious, is there a time frame for like the bridge install and all that, or is that?
I don't have that. We do have that on the schedule, but I don't remember where that is. The bridge, right now, anything made out of anything, but especially steel, is taking longer. I think the original schedule was 12 weeks, but I need to follow up with them and see if there's been any delays since that original schedule.
I was just curious. Thank you.
They have cut the temporary road down the side of the embankment to get the cranes down from the top to the bottom. That's done.
Any other questions?
Are we allowed to get there anytime to take a look, or is it?
You are, however, it is a construction site.
Right.
So you should have a hard hat and your reflective vest on when you're out there.
Okay.
If Tommy is the site supervisor, it's
Right.
usually there. So if you just kind of stand around the trailer, you can check in with him, and then, walk around and see. And if you want to meet me or Jared out there, just let us know.
Thank you.
Because there was an issue, a potential issue about how to finish, if you will, the landscaping and the dirt in the area adjoining the playground. I had asked Trish and Jared to give me a tour this afternoon, which they did. And the one walk away from that is that because this is a clean fill site, and we've said this over and over again, this is a clean fill site. It is being reclaimed as a park. It's a big park. It's how many acres? 53 acres. That's a lot of land, and that's a lot of old building material, and as I call it, rubble. So we have to make and we have a contract that specifies where the rubble is cleared, and there's not that many places, within 5 feet of the asphalt pathways, the rubble will be cleared. But there are a lot of places like the mountain bike trails. By design, we were hoping that mountain bike trail builders who will come later this year can creatively use rubble in their design of their trails. But there'll be other, around the pond, for instance, there's lots of rubble piles, and we need to make sure that we have a good maintenance program that kind of defines the transitions between paths and rubble piles, or between our park and the neighbor's common area. So that'll be important in terms of setting up expectations of board members and members of the public. But also we have to keep emphasizing this environmental story that we have. This was a Cleanville site. I mean, I don't know how many destroyed highways are underneath this park. It's, when you're walking, you're on these double wide, and part of these double wide paths will be paved. And then you suddenly see that you're 15, 20 feet up in the air. And then you realize you are walking on dirt that's probably not very deep. And under that is 20 to 30 feet of rubble. And so there are rubble eruptions all around. And we just have to make sure that people understand that this is a unique, environmentally cool and desirable use of this land that's going to be fantastic. But, you got to have some rubble. Kids, you're going to be climbing on rubble. And we were talking about, I'm sure somebody will say, what about my child? He wants to climb on the rubble every time he goes over there, or my dog, or.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So we'll have to answer that and make sure expectations are correct. So. All right, next item of old business listed is the rail trail extension.
Yes, like I mentioned concerning the Southern Rail Trail, that contract is signed and our kickoff meeting is tomorrow. So excited to get that moving. Concerning the North, I believe Tim and Roger have been working on some land projects behind the scene, and we're still waiting on those construction documents to finalize, and then we'll bring those before you for bidding. So is there anything you'd like to add, Tim?
Yeah, Roger, do we need the board to authorize me to enter into an agreement with the heirs of the Canes for the purchase or bargain purchase of?
I think we're going to need more details before we do that.
I think it'll be another month.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've
they've asked for us to update the appraisals. So yeah, Tim's met with them, and it looks good, but they've asked for some things, kind of like with Notarani. Takes a little more work to iron out the details and make sure everybody has what they need.
This for the continuation towards Whitestown.
Yeah, this is the half mile along the south side of 400 South. It's a 55-foot strip from center of road that we've talked with them for many years about. And there are 6, I believe, siblings who are heirs to the couple in whose name title is for the bigger 50 or 80 acre plot. So they've been great to work with, fantastic. So we're picking up where we left off a year and a half ago, and we're going to have to update our appraisals. We're limited to what we can pay, no more than the average of 2 authorized appraisals for parcels. So, but they're interested in gifting part of it and having a memorial bench or shade spot, and which would be great because this is a farmstead that's been there, and it won't be there. Yeah, for very much. Yeah, that is a hot area, fast developing. So it'd be nice to figure out a way to commemorate their family farmstead as well. So. Next item of old business is Winterfest.
All right, just wanted to give a update as the process, the very large process is moving forward still. Appreciate Roger, Amy Nooning, and members of the town as we revise the contract agreement with Ice America. And we believe we've got that in the final stage and we're ready for signatures. So that'll be happening soon. And we'll be under contract then. I've had conversations with both the school system and the United Methodist Church, and they are both agreeable and willing to work with us on parking and overflow parking. So Maple Lawn is also included in that for parking, and they're excited to create their own programming that'll add to our event by being side by side. So it'll just be a nice month-long celebration that's really shaping up nicely. So began sponsorship conversations with a couple of people. So looking forward to presenting that in future park board meetings with those exciting sponsorships and having more details.
Have you talked to the trail committee about some of their plans? Because I know they were trying to decide between, I'm on it. We were trying to decide between two different projects, and one of them was a winter project. And I'm curious if we've got this other winter thing going on, maybe that's the preference from the parks, that we choose the winter idea. So has anybody reached out to you about it?
Nobody's reached out to me yet, but I am
Okay.
more than happy to have those
Is this
conversations.
Pathways?
Pathways, yeah. Oh, I said trails, pathways.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pathways. I think there was something, we're talking about two, and one of them was some kind of a trail fest, and the other one was like you light up the trails and walk, certain trails at certain times for nighttime walks. And that was the winter one.
Yeah. To help with parking, we could offer a discount on skating if you walk rather than drive in. So there's lots of options we can explore.
Okay.
See incorporated them, yeah, luminaries for the, you come under the, for that, all the way from Zion Nature Sanctuary up to what's the high school? Yeah. Where the park is,
Yeah, Mulberry.
Mulberry.
Yeah.
Mulberry Street, right.
Yeah. And that's something, we wanted to do some kind of special event this year about trails. And so this could work really well to do them both in conjunction to bring more people into both areas. So let me talk to you more after the meeting. I'm sure they designated somebody to talk to you, and it wasn't me, but I had to leave that meeting early. So anyway, I'm happy to represent them as much as I can.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Anything more on Winterfest?
That is all at this time.
All right, next is other board-related items. Anyone? Next is claims. You had a chance to review the claims list, and if so, are there any questions? Comments? Motion to approve? Is there a motion to approve claims as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve the claim submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jill Pack seconds. John Stairs motion to approve claims is submitted. Any final questions or comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve claims is submitted is unanimously passed. Is there a motion to adjourn until such time as our regular July meeting where you'll have to be here? Is there a motion to adjourn? Yes, I make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The board seconds.
We'll give Salovich credit for the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.